Great, thank you.
Okay, we are now recording. Don't say anything bad about me yet. Okay. The original version of this presentation, the longer version, was called A Drink from a Fire Hose. We've kind of narrowed it down for today to be a drink from a garden hose. Now, the only purpose of today is to give you, number one, an overview of what the system's all about. You don't need to take any notes because in the future trainings, we're going to drill down real deep into all the different features and functions, but we just want you to understand the basic system, what it's all about. As we get towards the end, we're going to talk about how to log in, how to get your login credentials, and how to log into the system, how to change your password, and how to use the quick update screens in the system. Now, you don't need to take notes. Attached to the meeting invitation is a set of slides with note fields on it. If you want to print those off and take notes, that's great. But it'll cover everything that you'll need to remember at the end, basically how to log in and how to use the quick update system in here. So let's go ahead and get started. We've had a lot of health departments. We've got about 240 health departments across the nation using the system. And as you guys well know, we had COVID going on for a couple of years, and a lot of, the focus was obviously on things other than accreditation and performance management and stuff. And as people have come back from COVID, we had a lot of turnover, and we've seen something that looks kind of like this in departments, a lot of chaos going on, trying to get reacquainted to the normal things that public health does. So we're hoping that by the end of today, you'll kind of understand that you can get more towards this by implementing the VMSG dashboard to kind of give you a control of things that are going on in there. So first of all, what is the VMSG dashboard? It was developed with and specifically for public health. We've been working in public health for about 21 years now, and we were given the task as a consulting organization to develop an operational planning and execution system for the health departments here in Arizona. One of the things that was kind of a requirement and a problem that was going on was all of these beautiful plans that you would develop, your strategic plan, your CHIP, et cetera, were great plans, but the problem was there's no way to keep those plans up to date. So they kind of sat on a shelf and collected dust for 5 years. So we integrated the Deming cycle, or PDCA. Our nomenclature is plan, do, check, and adjust. And we're going to go into a lot of detail on that and how we keep the plans up to date in the system. About 2011 came along, and the health departments we were working with here ended up having a fully demonstrated performance management system for standard 9.1 and measure 9.1.1a. Fully demonstrated being the highest level that you can get in FAB for having a performance management system. One of the primary reasons is because we have built in the capability of engaging all staff and selected external partners in the process here. So we're going to go through and talk about the real-time planning interface, which is an automated email notification that goes out to you and your partners to bring you back in to keep the system updated. Now, there is a FAB requirement, a measure 9.1.6. You can read it right there. It talks about basically engaging everybody in the department in performance management. So that's why today is going to be a presentation for those of you who are just going to be doing updates in the system, looking at dashboards, things along that line. Today is pretty much all you'll need to have. Anybody who's actually going to be working inside of plans, your strategic plan, developing plans, entering plans, I would suggest that you go on to the follow-on trainings, which will get started after this one. Each of the trainings is about an hour long and a little bit, some of them are more interactive than others. Today is more or less a push program here just to get you the idea of what the system's about here. So we had to kind of define performance management in public health. And if you go off and Google performance management, you're going to get all kinds of different answers, most of them related to HR issues and things, and that's not us. We kind of broke it down into 3 steps. Number one being operational planning. So every plan is going to be fitting into this pyramid model, which we're going to go into great detail on in here. But you're going to have a lot of different plans in the system. And by the way, you can have as many as you want at any different level. But these are what FAB calls their 6-pack of plans, the ones in the bubbles here. And they're the minimum required plans for accreditation. So now you have your plan or plans in place here. You need to be able to monitor them. We built a lot of tools into monitoring at different levels. So what we call the macro level is kind of at the top of the pyramid. It's a group. So you can have your entire department on a macro level dashboard. You can have just your strategic plan on the dashboard. You can have community health division on the dashboard. So it'll be dependent on a group. And again, we're going to go into more detail here in a minute. Now, the macro level is a really big picture sometimes, and you don't necessarily see the things that are going on down at kind of the bottom of the pyramid, what we consider to be the objective and activity level. That's what we call the micro level. So we're able to monitor at that level too. So if you see something going awry at that level that's going to eventually affect the macro level, you can catch it early. And then VMSG Public is the ability to create public-facing web pages with any information in the system. So you can have an entire plan on a web page. You can have a single activity on a web page or multiple activities on a web page. We're going to go into this in great detail when we go into the performance monitoring training. We'll actually build a public-facing web page for you. And then we get into the performance improvement portion over here, which is that PDCA cycle. So you've got your plan in place, you're executing your plan, collecting the information in the background on the status of the plan, using that information in your check phase to compare the plan to the actual, and then if necessary, making any adjustments. And again, we'll go into detail here in a minute. So we talked about the planning model in the system. This pyramid kind of shows you what the planning model is all about. And you'll notice when I open up the system live here in a minute, there's a set of navigational tabs from left to right across the top. And it's this pyramid flipped on its left side. So the top and the left tab in the top of the pyramid is your organization, the health department. Underneath that is basically the structure of your health department. So it's the divisions, the offices, and the programs, and how they report to one another. In addition, the primary plans, or these FAB six-pack of plans, they call them, are typically independent groups within themselves because they're very extensive plans. Each group then has a set of services and or initiatives. Services are ongoing things that are happening within the group. Like I use the example of WIC as a service. It's been provided for many, many years by public health and will probably be here forever, at least based on the new funding that just came about and everything. Initiatives are future programs that we're trying to implement. We're going to talk about building an initiative today around tobacco cessation. Underneath services or initiatives, then you're going to have a set of high-level goals. Each high-level goal will have a set of what we call SMART objectives. And then each objective will have a set of activities or action steps that are going to get us to the objective. Now, the reason this is shown as a pyramid, give you an example. Your strategic plan is a group within itself. Typically, a strategic plan has somewhere between 3 and 7 strategic priorities, or what we call services or initiatives. Let's say we have 4 of those. Each of those services or initiatives may have 4 goals. Each goal may have 4 SMART objectives. Each SMART objective may have 4 activities. So if you do the math on that, I think it comes out to be 160 activities for just your strategic plan. So hence the reason the pyramid gets pretty wide at the bottom. Now, we have this little demo organization we call USA Public Health, and I'm going to take you live into there now. So this is the login screen, the basic login screen when you start out here. And depending on your login permissions as to how many of these menu items you'll see. But these are the tabs I was referring to across the top. So here's your organization. It's just your health department typically. The groups is, again, the structure of your department. Services related to the groups, the goals, objectives, and activities. By going across these tabs, I'm filtering down the pyramid. So when I go to my groups tab here, you notice it starts out at community health. So for purpose of today, I'm going to be the community health director. When I log in, it's taking me to my default group or my area of responsibility. What that does is just make it easy when you go into dashboards and things like that, that you don't have to go navigating anywhere. It's right there for you. The levels over here, as you can see, level 1 is your department. It's the highest level. Then you see these level 2 plans. These are the FAB six-pack of plans we were talking about, reporting to the department. Then you can see a group called administrative services. And then the level 3 groups that report to the level 2 groups are finance, HR, and IT, et cetera. So you can go down to 10 levels deep, which nobody's ever gotten to as far as I know. For today, I'm going to go to the subgroup under community health called Tobacco 2024. And I'm going to start navigating down the tabs here. So the first one is my services or initiatives. These are the buckets of things we're going to be working on within the group here. So we have tobacco cessation, secondhand smoke, tobacco initiation prevention. Under tobacco cessation, then, I'm going to have a set of high-level goals. And when I say high-level goals, they're typically an action verb followed by a few words. So it's giving you a definition of what we're trying to accomplish without the detail. So, for instance, reduce smoking in high schools, reduce smoking in colleges, reduce smoking in public areas. If I tell you reduce smoking in high schools, everybody understands what we mean by that. What it doesn't tell you, however, at this point is by how much. and which high schools, and when are we planning on accomplishing that. So we'll get down to that at the objective level. Now, when we get to the goal level, we start assigning a traffic light. Traffic lights are a visual indication of status, and there's actually 4 of them. And they're just exactly as you'd expect. Green is go, everything's moving along as expected. Yellow is something is potentially slowing us down. Maybe somebody's going to be retiring in a month who's running this program. We don't have a replacement yet. Red would be that person just got up and left, and we don't have anybody to run the program, bringing us to a kind of a screeching halt. And then the gold bar would indicate successful completion of this portion of the plan. So as you're looking at this and working through this plan, you might be changing this traffic light back and forth depending on how things are moving along in the program here. Now, underneath this particular goal, we have a set of SMART objectives. And again, our nomenclature is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So here's an example. Reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. So the specific part is reducing smoking at Wayne High School. The measurement here is 25%, and the time frame is by the end of the school year. So we pretty much fit the SMART nomenclature here. In order to get us to this particular objective, we're going to assign this person called an objective lead. Steve Hansen will be our objective lead. Steve's got 2 jobs. Number one, he's the guy who's going to drive the program to get us to the 25% reduction. And number 2, Steve is going to be the guy to update the current status. How far along are we in our reduction in here? To do that, Steve is going to get an automated email notification from the system. Typically, it's a monthly basis, but you can set it for whatever you want. And that's the real-time planning. In that email is a link that's going to take Steve right back into this particular objective so that he can update the status. Now, a couple of things you'll see over here. The notes and comments field. You'll notice that it has a date and time stamp. That's what this button right here does for you, is put the date, time, and person in there. And it says at 25% reduction is our note. You can put notes in here all day long if you want to. And it's a communication vehicle. So other people will be looking at this and might want to know the status, or why did Fred change this to a green, yellow light, or whatever it happens to be. So putting a note in there makes that communication happen. The other thing we have is the ability to add data sources. Data sources is just typically a link to a place that you're going to get the information to update the status of this particular objective. In this case, we're going to say we're going to be able to get that from the CDC Smoking Cessation Fast Facts webpage. And to get there, I just click on the link button over here, and it takes me right to that webpage. So this is the place that I believe I'm going to be able to get the information to update the status of that particular objective in there. You can have data sources at every goal, objective, and activity. So you can imagine you can have lots and lots of data sources. They can be intranet or internet data sources. They can go to your file servers. We got to work with your IT folks when that happens to be able to make sure we have firewall links and things like that to be able to do it. But you can have a link to anything that's going to give you the information you need to update that portion of the plan. So this is my SMART objective. Now, to get to the SMART objective, we're going to have a set of activities, or some people call them action steps. These are the things we're going to do that we believe will get us to our target. Now, there's 3 distinct types of activities in the system. Project-based is by far the most common and the original. And then we added quality assurance and quantitative measurement. I got an example of each of them here that we'll kind of go through. So a project-based activity is exactly that. It's a project, something we're going to complete in a given time frame. So here's an example. Create training content and materials for students and faculty on the dangers of smoking. So if we're thinking about that, what we're going to actually be doing is creating PowerPoints and maybe some videos and user guides and whatever we need to go out to the schools and do the training. Every activity's got a performance metric. The performance metric just says, how do I know when I've successfully completed the activity? So if we're creating training content, once we've created the training content, we're done with the activity. This is our time frame, beginning and ending date. This is when we're planning on accomplishing that. And these can vary over time depending on things in the real world that happen. Our measurement for this particular activity is % complete. So you see down here, it says completed chapter 1, and you can see that there were 4 chapters finally here. At chapter 1 is probably 25%, chapter 2 is 50, 75, and 100% as we're going through it. And right now it says we're at 100%, and hence the reason we have the gold bar for the traffic light up here indicating successful completion. The other thing we do at the activity level is assign teams of people. So I'm going to click on this pencil icon. I'm going to click on the little black X to open it to our whole department. And you can see we have the team members over here. So you see we have 3 team members. We have Diane as our team lead, so she's guiding the team to create the training content. And then that email notification again. So in addition to Steve getting an email to update the objective, Diane's going to get an email to update this particular activity. Over here on the right, FTE, full-time equivalent. This is something that's used typically during budgeting cycles, or I'm going after grant dollars and I need to know, what is this program costing us? So what you're going to do is say, during the time of this activity, Diane is going to put about 10% of her time in there, William about 10%, and Andrea about 30%. So if I take that and multiply that number times my average employee cost, burdened employee cost, I can get a good idea of what this is costing us. And I can look at it all the way up the pyramid. So at the activity level, you see the three of them add up to a 0.5. And if I take all three of these activities and roll them up to the objective, it's a 1.0, and I can go all the way up the pyramid. So again, I can say, okay, I need to have in my budget for next year X number of dollars to be able to manage this program. Or if I'm going after a grant, I need to be able to find a grant that will support tobacco cessation to the tune of X number of dollars in there. So that's kind of what that's all about. In addition to the team members, we have the ability to attach external partners. So in this case, we're saying that Fred Erickson at VMSG Dashboard is our external partner working on the training content. Now, if you choose to, you can make Fred a system user, a licensed user. And when you do that, then Fred can get that email notification. Now, what happens is if Fred is an external partner working on a specific activity, related to this for us, we can have him do the updates as opposed to us having to play phone tag, voicemail tag, email tag, whatever it is, get the information and doing the update. Just streamlines the process here. So that's our first activity. This is the project-based activity. We're going to create the training content. Our second activity then is we're going to take the training content we just created. We're going to go to the schools and we're going to provide 9 training sessions each month on the dangers of smoking to students and faculty. This is what we call a quality assurance activity, or QA activity. The QA activity is the least used type because it's very unique. Number one, it's cyclical. So what we're saying is I can pick a cycle anywhere between weekly and every 5 years. We call that a frequency. And then the other thing it does automatically that most of the other ones do not do is set the traffic light automatically. So based on the information we have, we can set the light. We're saying if we provide our 9 training sessions each month, it's going to set the light to green. If we only provide 6, we decided that's not good enough. We're going to call that red. And in between will be yellow. So cyclical and automatically sets the traffic lights. Our third activity then is we're going to contact all 20 tobacco vendors within 1 mile of Wayne High School to ensure they're not selling to minors. The quantitative measurement activity is very similar to the project-based activity, but with the exception that we actually have a target quantity. By having the target quantity, it makes it easy to do the calculation of how far along we are, or I can count up number of vaccinations or number of pills we distribute or whatever it happens to be. It's accounting. Plus, you can use it for counting dollars. So for budgeting and grants and that kind of stuff, you can manage them using a QM activity. So these are the 3 activities that we believe will get us to our target of a 25% reduction at Wayne High School. And if we go back to our pyramid, it looks like this. The group we selected out of all of them was Tobacco 2024. We're working on the Tobacco Cessation Initiative. Under Tobacco Cessation, we're working on reducing smoking in high schools. One of our objectives was to reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year, and then the steps we're going to go through to get there. So this is the planning model that's integrated in the system. Every plan fits into this model. It's been around for a lot longer than I have. I've been in public health about 21, 22 years now, and this model we got through working with Arizona State University, and it's probably the most common operational planning model out there. Now, as we go through the operational planning training, we're going to talk about different nomenclatures and things like that for the different levels. But overall, the planning model holds very true now. So now we've got our plan in place. Let's take that plan and walk it through the PDCA cycle. So we got the plan done. Great. Now let's execute the plan. So we're executing the plan. And this is the point in time when those real-time planning emails go out. So Steve is going to get an email, let's say on a monthly basis, to go back in and update the status of our current reduction. And Diane's going to get an email to go in and say, hey, we're 100% done creating the training content. William's going to get an email and he can go back in and say, hey, I did 9 training sessions this month. And Tom is going to get an email that says, hey, I did 20 tobacco vendor visits this month in here. So we're collecting this information in the background. Now, I highly recommend that these emails go to the person who's actually doing the activity. Typically, that's going to be your most accurate and most efficient way to collect the information. Some people tend to go to the supervisor for that person. Now that supervisor's got to go find that person. They're out, working around in the field. They got to find them. They got to play voicemail tag, etc., to get the information. Then they got to go back in, find the activities, and update the activities. Just a big waste of time. Go to the person who's actually doing it so you can collect that information very, very quickly. Now, we're collecting all information in the do phase, and the reason we're collecting it is for the check phase. The check phase is real simple. It's comparing the plan to the actual. Well, what we've just collected in the do phase with real-time planning is the actual. And it might look something like this. So I'm going back to the objective screen, reduce smoking at Wayne High School. This little guy right here, this little chart shows me from day one how we've completed the particular objective here. So we had no reduction when we started the program in February 2021. Slowly ramped up and got up to today at 25% reduction. So what we're saying is we had a plan of 25. We can show that we have an actual 25. Everything's working beautifully here. Back to PDCA. So that was the check phase. If you're collecting all that information in the background, it is that easy. If you're not, first thing you have to do is go collect that information. Then you go back and do the check phase. It's really not a great efficient use of your time to do that. Let the system do the work for you. Then we go into the adjust phase. In the adjust phase, if necessary, we're going to make a correction. Well, from what you just saw, plan's working great, right? So we don't need to change the plan. We'll continue to execute and collect the information. Every once in a while, we'll go in and check it just to see how we're doing and continue through this cycle. Now, let's assume for a second that that top of that chart you saw wasn't 25%, but only capped out at 21% and haven't got any higher than that. Now we got to make a decision. So at this point in time, we can say, well, maybe we're just too aggressive on the plan. Maybe 25 is really not a good number in here. Let's take the plan down to 21%, continue through the cycle, keep it there. The other thing we might decide is, you know what? We can get to 25%, but we need to add more resource. In this case, the resources would be maybe we go from 9 to 12 training sessions a month. Maybe we can decide that there's actually more tobacco vendors out there than we thought. We got to go contact the more folks. Maybe there's a whole nother set of activities we hadn't thought about yet to get to that 25% reduction. So that's kind of the third possibility. The fourth possibility is a combination. So maybe we say the plan is just a little bit too aggressive. Maybe 23 is a real number. And maybe to get to 23 is all we have to do is go from 9 to 12 training sessions a month. So those are kind of the four options. But the cool thing about this particular cycle here is that it keeps the plans up to date in real time. Now, in the fab world, you've got finite timelines on every plan. So these three guys over here, the CHIP, the CHON, and strategic plan, at least have a 5-year life cycle in here. Now, what typically happens, and not just in public health, by the way, is you're going to develop a strategic plan. It's going to be the greatest strategic plan of all time. You're going to look at it, everybody says, yep, this is what we're going to do. And you're going to put it up on a shelf in a binder, and it's going to collect dust for 5 years because you don't have a tool like this to keep the plan up to date. Now, if in fact you are keeping this plan up to date, this 5-year life cycle becomes an infinite life cycle because in fact you are basically updating the plan every month. So every month you're moving that 5-year window forward here, which really is kind of great because you don't have to worry about redoing the strategic plan. At some point in time, you might want to revamp it, but you're keeping it up to date as you're moving forward. So that's PDCA. Now, that chart that I just showed you with the 0 to 25% reduction was what we call micro level performance monitoring. So when I'm down at the bottom of the pyramid at the objective activity level, that's micro level. What we're going to talk about now is the macro level performance monitoring, or the dashboard screen itself. Let's go back over here and go to my groups tab. So the dashboard is based on the particular group that you've selected. So I can have a dashboard at my department level, which would show me the entire department on one screen. I can say I just want to see my strategic plan. So I can have a dashboard for the strategic plan. I have an admin group down here. So if I want to see my admin plus finance and HR and IT, I could have a dashboard just for that. So depending on your area of responsibility as to what you're typically going to want to see. So remember, when I logged in, I was taken to the community health division because that's my default group. So all I have to do is go up here at the top right and click on this traffic light button. And what that's going to do is go into the background and put together literally hundreds and hundreds of data points here that are all part of community health. And it's going to give me a snapshot, a real-time snapshot of the performance of community health. And here's what it looks like. So the first thing I like to tell people is this homepage button up here. Now, if I'm the health director or maybe community health director, I may or may not be, building plans, entering plans, updating plans. I may just want to know how are things performing. So if I set this as my home page, when I log in, instead of going to the main menu, it's going to take me to my dashboard for my area of responsibility. So in this case, I'm the community health director. When I log in, it takes me right to the dashboard for community health. So I don't have to go navigating around. Top left corner, I call the big picture. In this case, it is the number of activities or objectives or goals with each traffic light status. So you'll notice I get a little click finger here, meaning I can drill down on anything on this screen. So I could look at these five activities and figure out what I got to do to get them back on track. Ideally, I want everything to kind of be green and gold if possible here. The other thing I see is the schedule gauge. Schedule gauge is saying that for these 23 activities, aggregately, we're about 82 days ahead of schedule. So we're doing great. When I get down to just below schedule, it turns yellow. And when I get 60 days below schedule, it turns red. So if I can say, everything up here is green and gold, I'm 100%. I'm moving forward. Don't have to go any farther. If I do have some things in here that are concerning me, I can start drilling down here at the bottom. So the first thing I look at is how is each of my people performing against the assignments we made. So I have Diane Cox up here. This is showing the last time that Diane actually entered or updated her information in the system. The green indicates it's been less than 30 days ago. Yellow would be somewhere between 30 and 60 days ago. And then the red is over 60 days. In an ideal world, you like everybody to be green. Sometimes yellow is okay. William was on vacation that last week of the month when the email came out, didn't get a chance to update it, whatever it is. The red, though, is 60 days. So I'm going to have a little chat with Mara and Tom and just say, let me train you guys on how to do your updates so you can kind of keep up with everybody else. Now, there's an old adage that says, people listen to what you say, people do what you audit. Kind of think of this as a mini audit. So I'm the community health director having my monthly staff meeting. I throw this up on the big screen, in front of everybody and kind of walk through what the colors mean in here and, what that column indicates in there. And that ideally, I'd kind of like to have everybody in the green if I could, because I'm using this information to manage the performance of community health here. I will guarantee you that the next month, when you throw that thing up there on the screen, every one of those will be green. People do what you audit. Here's a roll-up of that FTE number we talked about. This is by person. So you're going to look and say, how loaded is each person based on the FTE assignments that I made? In an ideal world, everybody should be at a 1.0 or below, but it's not necessarily true in public health all the time here. Lagging says I have activities that are calculated to be behind schedule and kind of color-coded as to how far. The days column is the same as the schedule gauge up here for the individual person. Overdue says I have activities that today is past the ending date of the activity and it's not yet 100% complete. And then the number of red, yellow, green, and gold for that person. So that's my first view that I go to. If I want to dig down deeper, I can go down and say, how is each group performing? So if I select the group screen, in this case, it's going to pick community health and tobacco and WIC because they were the subgroups under community health. And it's going to give me the same information over here, the status of the group. My third one here is priorities, and that is the strategic priorities from your strategic plan, which will appear down this column, usually 3 to 7 of them here. And they're going to be mapped against every other plan in the system. So the idea here is, does everything we do, in fact, get reflected in our strategic plan? And how are we performing against the specific initiatives in our strategic plan? Top right corner, my priorities. Individually selectable objectives. You pick the ones that you want to see. Most often they're yellows and reds because they need help. And most often there's something either you're working on personally or you and your team are working on, or you've assigned it to your team members. And you just want to keep them front and center. So more or less it's a bookmark. Everybody chooses the ones that they want to use. Everybody can have the same ones or different ones. It really doesn't matter. And you can have as many of them up here as you want. So this is my dashboard. This is macro level. Now, over COVID, we had a lot of extra time while you guys are out saving the world. And we built a lot of additional features that had been kind of requested by health departments. One of those is VMSG Mobile. VMSG Mobile is not an app per se on your phone. You don't have to download anything. It's actually what we call a dynamic app, meaning that it builds the app dynamically in the web browser on your phone when you log in. So actually, you go to the same exact link that you would on your desktop. You got the same exact login credentials as you would on your desktop, but it knows it's a phone, so it takes you to VMSG Mobile. And this is the same exact screen you just saw broken down into 3 phone screens. So top left, bottom, top right corner. You can click on anything. You can drill down on anything. You can look at all the 3 different views, the whole 9 yards. Everything's the same, but you can do it at any point in time from anywhere when you're not sitting in front of your computer. The accreditation and reaccreditation project plans are all built into the system. I'll kind of walk you through that quickly here. So the plans are groups within themselves. So let's go down and look at, we have all the FAB 2022, the FAB 1.5. We have the pathways, the new kind of mini FAB in there. But let's just go ahead and take a look at FAB 2022 local. So this is the latest version of the plan. As I drill down here, the first thing I have is the accreditation process. As I step down here, it says preparation, application, etc. It's going to walk you through the entire process, including reaccreditation down here at the end. I go back here and start looking at the domains. I say I have domain 1. Under domain 1, I have the standards. Now, the other thing we did is we used that data source capability to be able to link right back to the documentation on the FAB website. So for standard 1.1, I have this link, and I click on that. It's going to take me to standard 1.1 on the FAB website. So here it is, standard 1.1. Just gives you the, I call it the horse's mouth. It gives you the information if you need to go back. Now, most of this information is in the plan already, but there's a lot more detail in here that you could go back and reference. Now, underneath the goals are the measures, or the standards of the measures here. Now, this is where we get down to documenting things. So, for instance, we say we have the document required here is 1 community health assessment data within 5 years. Everything can be attached right to this particular, actually it can be attached anywhere, but in most cases you're going to attach the documents required for accreditation right here. This little button right here is document management. It says there's 3 documents attached. You notice you only see one when I click on it because we're just looking at the latest version here. It's automatic version control. So I look at this and say we got the 3 versions of the plan here. Yellow typically indicates a draft. You can have as many as you want. Green would indicate that this plan has been approved by the department, is ready to submit. And then gold would indicate that it's been submitted up into the EFAB system in here. It's very simple to add documents. We're going to go over all this stuff when we go into the future trainings here. But all your documents are attached right where they belong. So when it's time to submit them to EFAB, you just click here, download it to your desktop or whatever, and then shove it up into EFAB. Now, basically, again, this is where the documentation gets attached here. However, not everybody knows what has to be in a community health assessment or what FAB requires to be in a community health assessment. And that's where we get down to the activity level. So these are the 7 things that FAB requires. The first one is a list of participating partners involved in the CHA process. So in this case, what we're saying is I need a list. And here again, document management gives me the place to attach that list. What I'm typically going to do is go through all 7 of these activities, collect all the documents I need, and then go back and build my community health assessment document that I'm going to submit up at the objective level. Now, the way we get you started with this is you're going to tell us who are your domain leads. So you got some people, are duplicated, but in this case, you're going to give me a name of everybody who's a domain lead. We're going to push that all the way down to the objective and activity level. So that person is responsible for everything. Now, that person can also go in and reassign some of those things. So for instance, if the domain lead is the objective lead, and then there's a bunch of activities like you saw, they can reassign those activities to the people responsible for collecting up that documentation or whatever. So you got the ability to do that. The other thing is at the activity level, we're going to set the dates. You're going to tell us kind of a beginning date, could be anything you want, but the ending date is typically somewhere around a month before you're going to submit documentation up into EFAB. And it just gives you a little breathing room in there. When we do that, we turn on real-time planning. Everybody who's a domain lead or been assigned as an activity lead is going to start getting email notifications, again, typically a monthly basis here. That email notification is going to link them right back into the activities and objectives that they've been assigned. so that they can keep track of them, update them, get the documentation attached, everything that they need to do. So basically what it does is automate the accreditation process for you and just keeps you on track automatically without you having to do a lot of tracking manually. So that's the accreditation plans. There's accreditation, reaccreditation plans in there, all the different versions. You're welcome to as many of them as you want. We don't charge for any of that kind of stuff. They're just all built into the system to help you out. Now, over COVID, we had an issue that we kind of had to address, and that was that a lot of our health departments, there's about, again, 240 of them, I think, a lot of those health departments were still going through accreditation. One of the problems they had was a lot of health departments like to do what they call a mock site visit, meaning that they're going to hire somebody to come in and review everything they've done before they go to their site visit to obviously up the chances of passing the site visit in here. So you're going to hire somebody, they're going to come in, go through all your documents, all your plans, and just make sure you're ready to go. So during COVID, a lot of health departments worked from home. Nobody was traveling, it was kind of everybody didn't want to get anywhere else out in the open, so they were kind of all staying home as well. So what we did is built the ability to virtually do a mock site visit. So you pick the person, we train them, they go in after you've completed your plan, you think you're ready to go, and they use this little review button on the activity screen. It allows them to add all the review information, traffic lights, notes, what's good, what's not so good, everything you need to know but we're afraid to ask. When they're done, you go out and generate a report called accreditation review report. And you can say, just show me the yellows or just show me the reds, whatever you want, or you can just look at all of them. If you get through there and everything is green and gold, you're ready to go. If not, you want to take a look at the yellows and reds and, kind of go by their suggestions of this plan may be expired by the time you submit it, something along that line. So just gives you the ability to do all that virtually. Now, what we've just gone through is what we call the core functionality of the VMSG dashboard. So for those folks who are going through accreditation or reaccreditation, the first thing we recommend is to get the Fab 6 packet plans together here and get those in the system. Use one of the accreditation plans, whatever fits your need, whether it's accreditation, reaccreditation, pathways, or whatever. You're going to use the plan. You're going to implement real-time planning so that everybody is involved. So that's 9.1.6 gets implemented. Everybody who's done that has gotten fully demonstrated by Fab for performance management. So it's a really simple process, step by step. Will help you to get your plans in there and all that kind of stuff, get everything going, implement the Fab plan, implement the real-time planning, and you're pretty much ready to go at that point in time. Now, that's the basic stuff that you need. Over time, we've added a whole bunch of additional features in the system here, and I'm going to go through a little bit quicker now and walk you through these features because we're going to go into great detail in the future trainings in here. So let's talk about some of these. Intelligent document management. So I talked about document management. So you attach documents to any portion. Actually, you can attach them to anything in the system. Most often they're attached in the plan, at the measure level and the activity level in there. But about 6 months ago, one of our health departments came to us and said, hey, we've got a problem that I think you can help us with. We have a bunch of standard operating procedures, policies, memos of understanding, grant documents, Fab documents. They all have to be updated on a regular basis. And we've got the ability to do that. We've got the teams of people associated with doing that. The problem is we don't have a linkage that says, Fred, you need to update this SOP by the end of September. So what we did is built that capability in there. So you're going to attach the document to a QA activity that we set for timeline. And let's say we have one that's an annual a fiscal year life cycle for this document has to be updated. So we set the dates for the beginning and end of the fiscal year. We put in there what we call a percent to yellow. And that says when we get to this percentage of the year, let's say it's 80% of the year, so about 9.5 months into the year, the light turns yellow. When the light turns yellow, it means that Fred is going to be notified that you can start doing the update on this plan. He'll go into that particular activity, download that document, do the updates on the document, upload the new version, does automatic version control, resets all the lights to green, starts your new annual cycle. In addition to being able to manage all the updates on that, you can use the permissions to set up a group for SOPs, for instance. And then everybody can have view access to that group, which means they can go in and get hold of any of those policy documents, SOP documents that they need to review and use without having the ability to do the updates on there. So it really is a cool feature. And in fact, it's been one of the hottest features since we rolled it out about 6 months ago. Reporting, we're going to go into the performance monitoring, all the different reports in the system. There's reports for everything. VMSG Public, the ability to create public-facing web pages. We'll go into that in performance monitoring. Three-dimensional planning, the ability to look across every plan in the system for commonalities, gaps, and overlaps. Really works well for the accreditation process, because you can say, show me everything that is related to FAB Standard 6.1. Includes every plan and every document. When you're going through your site review, boom, it's right there in front of you. The real-time planning is that automated email notification to collect data in the background. All the accreditation plans are all built into there. So you've seen a lot of this, but these are kind of all the other features that you'll get used to over time. And there's just all kinds of things in the system you can do to help the department to kind of run more efficiently here. Let's talk about the real-time planning. I think this is a critical element in here. And again, it's kind of an automatic way to meet 9.1.6. So here's how it works. Most people set this for a monthly cycle. You can set it for anything you want. But let's say we set it for the first Monday of the month. So first Monday of the month at 1 a.m., the system goes in and looks at everybody who's designated as an objective lead or an activity lead. And it asks 3 questions. Number 1, has this person been in the last 30 days and updated their stuff? Number 2, does this person have anything that has fallen behind schedule? And number 3, does this person have anything that's overdue? So today is past the ending date on the activity and it's not 100% complete. If none of those are true, no spam. If any of them are true, however, out go the emails. As I mentioned, they can go to internal folks as well as those designated external partners. Now, the only people who get the email are those who are designated as objective or activity leads. So when they log in, they're going to get an option to go to Quick Update. Quick Update is just 2 screens, activities and objectives. You're going to go through your activities, you're going to go through your objectives, you're going to log out. Typically, this is about a 3 to 5 minute process per person per month. So by spreading out the workload, you're getting all the updates done very efficiently, so you always know that you're working with real-time information. So the quick update screens, I'm going to walk you live into here in a minute here, but this would be the activity quick update screen. The top of it is just the context. So it's the pyramid: group, service initiative, goal, objective, activity. It says I'm on 1 of 29, but realistically, there's only 3 fields that you'll ever update. I can cycle through my traffic lights. I can put in my new data value. I did 9 training sessions this month or whatever. I can put in any notes that I want. If I want to add a time and date stamp, it's this little button right here. So you can see the date, time, and Fred Erickson put this note in here. You got access to the data source link down here if you need it. And then you hit the next button. I cycle through my activities, cycle through my objectives, log out, and I'm done for the month. Now, the email that you're going to get is going to look similar to this. So up here at the top are those 3 criteria we mentioned. Why did I get this email? Next is the activities to which you've been assigned and the status, traffic light status here. The next thing is this will be your internal folks, not our folks. This is your administrators. So if you have any question about why I got the email, what should I do with it, doesn't seem to work right, whatever, you contact those folks. And then the link. This link takes you right to the login for VMSGdashboard.com. Now, right now, for those of you who have not logged in, I'm going to go through and walk you through the process. Again, attached to the meeting invitation is the slide that I'm going to show you that walks you through the entire process on how to log in. So let's go through it, first of all, step by step on a screen, and then I'm going to actually go and do it live for you. So the first thing is the link is login.vmsgdashboard.com. Now there's an alternative. Just go to the homepage of vmsgdashboard.com. Top right corner, there's a link you can click on. It'll take you here. The first dialog box you see has 3 buttons. The leftmost button is called Send. And what that says is send to me my login credentials. So I'm going to click that, enter my email address, click Send again. Hopefully I'll get a success dialog, which means I found all your stuff. I sent you the email. Now that email goes out pretty much immediately. So if you don't get it in a minute or so, check your spam folder. And by the way, if you don't get the success dialog, if you get a warning or an error or anything like that, please contact us. We'll get you straightened out. Then there's a login button on the middle of the screen. I'm going to show you all this in a minute that you can click on. And when you do that, you're going to get that same dialog box as you got the first time. This time, you're going to enter user ID or email address from the email you get. Now, you can use either one. So you can go back and forth, by the way. You're going to get a new user ID, which is typically first name, last name, or you can just use your email address if you don't want to remember a new user ID. Then you're going to enter your password, and you're going to click login. And then after you do that, you're probably going to want to go change the password. We'll kind of walk through that here in a minute. Now, the email that you're going to get on the first couple of steps here looks like this. It's going to have your user ID and your password. Now, I will warn you that the password sometimes contains cryptic characters that are hard to read. So what I suggest is when you're entering the password the first time, copy and paste it out of the email. You make sure that you're not misreading it here. So let's go walk through that process live. So the first thing we're going to do from here is log out. That's this button at the top right corner. And this is the VMSG dashboard homepage. And as I mentioned, this link up here, already a user login here. So we'll click on that. It's going to take me to that login screen with that dialog I was talking about. Here's my send button. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to put in my email address. Since it already knows me, that's good. And I'll hit send again. Hopefully I'll get a success dialog. I did. It says we found your user ID and password. We emailed it to you. Go check your email right now. It's an immediate thing that happens here. I'll go ahead and click OK. The next thing we're going to do is click this login button now that we've got the email that I just showed you. This time I'm going to enter again either my username or my email address. You don't have to remember a new username if you don't want to. I can put my email in there. It'll work. And you can go back and forth, by the way. It's the same. Now I'm going to copy and paste that password in here out of the email just to make sure I got it right. I'll click login. This is the dialog I was talking about. The main menu is where we've been working all day. I'm going to go to quick update. Quick update is those two screens we talked about to update the stuff that you're responsible for. What it's doing is gathering up all of the objectives and activities that I have been assigned. So here's my activity quick update screen. Again, the top of it is the top of the pyramid. It says I have 9 activities I'm going to update today. And again, typically I can cycle through the traffic light if I need to change it, put in the data value, whatever's required by the activity here, put in my notes. This button right here puts the date, time, and person stamp in front of the note here. Again, I got my data source down here if I want to use it. And then I'm going to hit the next button. Now, before you do that, the first thing you might want to do is change your password so you don't have to worry about cryptic characters and stuff. Click on the key button. Now, this button is also on the main menu. You may have seen it. It's like the 7th button down, I think. I click on that. I'm going to copy and paste out of the email the current password, put in whatever I want for a new password, verify the new password, hit update, and I'm all set to go. And again, you can do that off the main menu as well. Right now, I'm going to cycle through my 9 activities. There's 2, 3. So I'm at activity 9 of 9, as you can see up here. Now, if I've also been assigned as an objective lead, I'll click it again. It gives me the option to go to my objective quick update. So I'll click on that. It'll take me to a very similar screen with the objective up here above the activities. So here's my objective. Again, data field, traffic light, note screen, got the data source available. Here's my next button down here. Now, the activities reporting up to that objective are also here. So you notice there's 2 of them in gray and 1 of them in blue. The blue indicates that this activity is also assigned to me, which means you just went through it. You don't have to do anything with it. The gray ones means that I, as the objective lead, have probably assigned these 2 activities to somebody else. Now, maybe that person's on vacation. I want to do the update. I can click on it, do my updates from here if I want to. So this is the objective quick update. When I'm done, I can go ahead and log out, and basically I'm done for the month. You'll also notice this is the document management screen up here, so I can attach documents to this particular objective or the activity up here. I can go to the main menu from here. This is my help screen up here. We'll talk about that here in a minute. I can just cycle through my objectives, so everything that you need to know is up there. Now, the other thing that's available on your VMSG mobile is the quick update screens. So I'm driving into the office in the morning. I decide I'm going to stop at Starbucks and have a coffee. It's that first Monday of the month in here. I sit down with my coffee at the table, pop open my phone, and here's that email from VMSG. I click on the link in my web browser. I click on the link, and it's going to take me to the login page, same login page you just saw, except on your phone. I'm going to put in my user ID or email address, put in my password, and again, it's exact same login credentials as you were using on your desktop here. I'm going to go into my quick update for activities, finish those up, quick update for objectives, finish those up, log out. 5 minutes later, I'm done for the month. Just, more or less a convenience feature in there. Now, built into the system is an incredible amount of help and training. So let's go look at that. I'm going to go back to the main menu here, and I'm going to go to my services tab. So I'm on my services tab, and I have a question about how do I add a service? How do I remove a service? What are all the buttons for? What are all the different fields on here? I just go to the blue eye. Click on that, and it took me right to where I came from, adding and managing services. The first thing is just step-by-step on how to add, how to remove, how to edit, what are all the different buttons on the screen for. That's all there for me. Down here, we got a couple other options. Number one is a training video, typically about 5 minutes long, specifically on adding and managing services. Walks you through everything in here that it's step-by-step, but in a video format. This blue one is the user guide. So it's everything on every topic, plus every one of these in a user guide. It's a hyperlinked table of contents. So I can go in and say, I want to look at services initiatives, click on that, takes me right to the area in the PDF. You can dock it on your desktop, you can print it off, whatever you want to do with it. Down here at the bottom, for those of you who are new to the system, which I think all of you are, I would review this document. It's called Implementation Guidelines. And what it is stuff we've collected from customers over the years on what works best, what didn't work so well. Here's some IT issues we ran into with firewalls and email addresses. Here's some templates that we created to help you implement or develop operational plans. Here's some ideas about getting people engaged in the system. Here's the type of people who engage easily. Here's the type of people who don't engage so easily. Here's a step-by-step process for entering an operational plan. So it's got lots and lots of good information. It's really worth a read and to keep handy as you're working through the system. Up here at the top left corner, there are e-learning modules. There's 5 of them. Intro is what we're going over today, so you can skip that one. Basics is just talking about every button and every screen. The next one that we'll be doing live is operational plan development. How to develop an operational plan, what are all the different levels, what are real-time public health examples of each level of the operational plan pyramid that we talked about in here. Then we actually go through and enter an operational plan. The next training would be performance monitoring, graphs and charts and reports and VMSG public, that sort of thing. And then for those of you who are designated administrators or admins, we call them, there's some stuff on here about how to add users, how to manage user permissions, how to add groups, how to move things around, how to do lots of different stuff in there. So if you go through, if you skip out the first one, which is, again, about an hour, you go through the rest of these, it's probably about 2 hours and 15 minutes, something along that line to get through all of these trainings. And again, they're video-based training modules, very similar to what you're seeing today, but in a video that you can pause and come back to and whatever. So you got your choice. Join us live or go through them on here or do both if you want to. But all that's available to you 24/7. That was your drink out of a fire hose or maybe a garden hose for the day. What questions can I answer? Okay, well, I guess either I did a good job or I drowned all of you. But the next training that we're scheduling, or I'm not sure if we've scheduled it yet or not, will be the operational plan development. So we're going to go through how to develop an operational plan. What are all the different levels of the pyramid? What do they look like? We're actually going to enter an operational plan. We're going to give you a little homework, and that is to go away and create a simple operational plan. Once we go through that, you're all going to get a certificate that says you're operational planning experts. And then after that, we'll go into performance monitoring. And then after a month or so, you've implemented a bunch of plans, we'll go into the 3-dimensional planning. So if there are no questions, I will let you guys all get on with your day. If you do have any questions, here's my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me.
Thanks so much, Fred.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
So that operational plan, would that be for everyone or just the admin users?
No, the admin users are just the admin. Operational planning is for anybody who's going to be developing or working on your strategic plan or your chip or anything like that, it's a good course for pretty much everybody except those people who are just going to be doing the quick update.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thank you so
everybody.
much.
Wonderful. Have a wonderful Wednesday. And if you need any help, please feel free to reach out to me.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thanks.